Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Bekhair agale, ni hao, chune shubbe, washwale, ohai, gozaimasu, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privet, kaifa hal, hale shama chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World. And I watch you all this morning along with the very amazing, the very stunning, the very fabulous, the very ecstatic Miss Shizza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shizza, how are you today?
I'm absolutely great. Thank you so much for these kind words. And you look absolutely stunning as well.
Oh, thank you very much.
Do we use the word stunning for men?
Yeah, I think that, you know, you can use any word. You can use any word. I mean, I call myself beautiful as well and pretty too. But yeah, since the time I've gone bald, I think I am not using the word pretty. But other than that, I think everything's fine. So we hope that people out there are doing great. We're opening our windows of hope to in another 46 different countries.
Absolutely.
So people, wherever you are, please choose amongst all the hellos we have said to you.
And yeah, that's the way we greet all of you because we love having you on board.
Yeah.
And for all of you who have just tuned into PTV World, I really hope you're having a very healthy breakfast because, you know, having a healthy breakfast does lead absolutely
What did you eat today?
a great day. I didn't eat anything.
Why?
I just have my coffee. I usually don't like eating early in the morning. I know I give out the message every day. What? Great amount of hypocrisy. But anyway, you know, Shahzad, I was just realizing, I think, and we talk about it a lot, how insensitive sometimes words can get.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I have been insensitive to people around me as well, but unintentionally, because when you are saying things, you don't know that you, I mean, you never mean to say wrong things to people, but they sometimes, often, more usual than often, come out wrong.
Exactly.
But you know, you really have to be careful about what you say to the people around you. It can make their day or ruin their day. You know, it can actually ruin their lives as well. They can probably get into some complexes or probably, you know, get into stress and anything. So if you don't have anything kind or positive to say, just don't say.
Exactly, and I think, ladies and gentlemen, everybody grew up listening to this, one of these very amazing phrases, and that is that, you know, think before you speak or think before you leap, you know, that's what they say. So I think that it has got a lot of wisdom in it. Now, I think what Shizza's actually trying to point out too is that while we were discussing that, you know, what our public service message will be, so a lot of times we've seen that, you know, people go to see other people who are actually sick or ill or are in hospital. And, you know, when they go over there, so just, you know, when they feel like reassuring the other person of the fact that you're going to be fine.
They fall short of words.
Yeah, they fall short of words, and then they remember examples where people have died actually. And then they kind of, you know, it's kind of slip of tongue as well. People do not do it intentionally, but you never know how the other person might perceive it. So I think rather than telling or, you know, probably having a difference in between, you know, well, the other person died, oh, but you're going to be fine, your reports are normal. You do not have to say that. All you have to say that is, please pray for me. I mean, this is one of the things which our Prophet has actually told me, that whenever you go see somebody who's actually ill, ask them to pray for you, and then the next thing you can say is probably get well soon.
Exactly,
and just pray for them.
And also not treat them differently. I mean, just be like you were with them before. Not to, I mean, sort of reassure or re-emphasize on the fact that they are probably going
I mean, you cannot treat the same person who's actually got both the legs broken, and then you're like, okay, chalo, aap walk pe chalte hain.
You know what I mean.
But that's something which cannot happen. But yeah, other than that, ladies and gentlemen, the sole reason why we came up with this message was that today it is a very important day.
Absolutely.
And I think half of the world, or probably I think majority of the population of the globe, are very unaware of this disease too as well, other than doctors themselves, because they've studied and they've gone through it. And I'm still not sure how many lives might have been lost just because of the fact that the right diagnosis wasn't given to these people, and then the right treatment wasn't even given.
Absolutely.
So today, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be the World Hemophilia Day as well, which is a bleeding disorder, and there are 2 types in it. We'll definitely talk about types, but since we're not the doctors, we really want some help and awareness from all of these amazing guests whom we have over here in the studios.
Yes, that's right. Before you do introduce them, I feel like it's very important to actually observe this day all around the globe, not only in Pakistan, because like you very rightly said, Shahzad, this is a disease that is so common around the people, you know, in the people around us, and we often do not even know people are going through this. Thus, we don't know how to cure that or even help them through it. So basically, hemophilia is a disease when your blood does not have, you know, the thickening factor, or, you know, that is how you sort of start losing blood. Internally, you bleed a lot, externally as well. That is all I know about it. So that is why we have this apt panel over here, which Shahzad is going to introduce very shortly.
And ladies and gentlemen, this year the theme is outreach and identification. Where whenever we talk about outreach, so obviously all the member organizations need to be a part of it. And then the hemophilia treatment centers need to be a part of it as well, because, for example, if we're going to identify, we do need centers to probably look after them.
Right.
But the dilemma over here within Pakistan is that within all the major cities, we do have hemophilia treatment centers, but elsewhere in the rural areas, I think, fall short of those treatments. And then that's where the problem lies as well, that the kids actually die because of the fact that there weren't any diagnoses and there weren't any treatment centers. So what we have done is that we have got obviously a spokesperson from the government, and then we have a doctor alongside us, and then the best part is that we have got somebody who's so brave to come to be on television and let us know how it is to be or to pass your life or every single day with a bleeding disorder. And I'm very thankful to all of these people who've actually joined us today for World Hemophilia Day. Let's get started with it. On my right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, very graceful lady. She's none other than Dr. Nausheen Hamid. She's the Parliamentary Secretary for Ministry of Health and Sciences. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for joining us, ma'am. It's wonderful to have you. Alongside Dr. Nausheen, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by somebody who's a hematologist. She's none other than Dr. Tahira Zafar. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, Shizza and Shahzad.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure, ma'am.
You look amazing and you look very fresh and you're
Thank
smiling.
you very
That's
much.
great
Thanks.
too as well. And I just want to check myself whether I look great or not, because I got my scaling done yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because, you know, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you this, that this is one amazing thing I've done in my life. So I've never thought that I'll quit on smoking. So I think it's been 17 odd days that I haven't smoked a single cigarette.
I'm so proud
Yeah,
of
thank you
that.
very much for that. And then I realized since I'm not smoking, I should actually get rid of the stain. So I got scaling done as well.
Perfect.
But last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by somebody who's actually a person living with bleeding disorder. She's none other than Miss Abira Mahin. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum. How are you?
Assalam.
Well,
I'm fine. How are you?
The best part is, you're perfect. The best part is that, you know, when I looked at you and when I got to know that you are the one who's actually living, I couldn't even realize, because you look so pretty and amazing. I never knew that, you had a bleeding disorder.
Thank
but it's
you.
all right. Things are fine.
People really don't get to know people with bleeding disorders, since it's not something that's very visible to them.
Yes.
Right, absolutely.
But
so I feel like
you're on point. Yeah.
So I feel like, ma'am, we need to start with you since you are a hematologist. For a layman like me and like Shahzad, because we don't know
You're
a lot about
lay woman. You gotta be a
Lay woman rather than a man.
Right. So, ma'am, what is hemophilia?
Hemophilia, as you very rightly said, it's a bleeding disorder.
Yeah.
And to stop bleeding, we in our plasma have got certain factors which are called clotting factors, or stopping, and these factors stop the blood from going on and on bleeding as such.
Should I tell you, I forgot the word clotting. That is why I said thickening, but thank you for reminding me. Please go on.
Perfect. I think maybe the people would understand thickening more than clotting.
That's true as well.
So
right.
from their point of view, it is fine. So since those factors are missing, so these patients or people when have cuts or trauma, they can actually start bleeding, and that bleeding can continue for a very long time unless it stops by giving them these factors.
Oh, all right.
So that's what hemophilia is.
It's incurable?
It is a genetic disorder. It is incurable in a broad sense, but recently there have been developments where it's promising that genetic therapy will actually result in cure of the disease.
All right, all right. So we are probably looking at a brighter future of biotechnology over here.
Definitely
again,
a brighter
really
future. And I think the future should always be bright, and there should always be hope.
Yeah, because if it's not bright, I think we can always bright kare isko, you know.
जी बिल्कुल सही बात है.
But ma'am, since we're talking about hemophilia over here, let's dig in a little more into it. How many different types of hemophilia?
Right.
What kind of people and what kind of treatments are available, so that, you know, once we know that, you know, this is the treatment available in Pakistan, we jump onto the parliamentary secretary and ask whether it's correct or not.
So like I said, first of all, hemophilia, there's a hemophilia A and hemophilia B.
Yeah.
And hemophilia A is factor A deficiency, and hemophilia B is factor 9 deficiency. And both these disorders are X-linked, and they are where females are carriers and the patients are actually boys.
All right.
And the incidence of hemophilia A is about 1 in 5,000 live birth in males. And that of hemophilia B is 1 in 30,000. So hemophilia B is much less common, like 1/6 of hemophilia A.
Right.
In case there's another bleeding disorder which Abira has, is actually von Willebrand disease.
Right.
That is much more common than both hemophilia A and B, and that is 1 in about 1,000 or even more than that. So the commonest worldwide is actually von Willebrand disease. But since hemophilia has been coming out for a long time and people know the name, so all these inherited bleeding disorders actually fall under the same umbrella of hemophilia as such.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Like
but I just wanted to, you know, talk about the content of the blood too over here as well. For example, whenever we go for a complete blood picture, so let's just get a precise picture of what does it affect. Is it the red blood cells? Is it the white blood cells? Is it, you know, all of those things which make our blood?
So just to make it a bit simpler for you and for people who are actually listening to it, blood has two major components.
Right.
Cells and plasma. So these clotting factors are actually not present in the cells, they are present in the plasma.
Oh,
and we have 13 of these factors, from 1 to 13. Any of them, if they are missing, that will lead on to a bleeding disorder.
Yeah, okay. So now we have to come down to the point where do you think that the state-of-the-art treatment is available for everybody in Pakistan, or we still have to go a long way?
I wish it would be that scenario, but unfortunately it's not.
Okay.
What we require as treatment for these patients is actually these factor concentrates which are missing. For hemophilia A, we require factor 8 concentrates, for B factor 9 concentrates, and for von Willebrand disease we require von Willebrand factor concentrates.
Okay.
None of these are available in Pakistan. At the Hemophilia Society, we've actually, through our own arrangements, through our own fundraising, we have connection to get these concentrates, and we are, alhamdulillah, treating our patients with factor concentrates.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Unfortunately, on the hospital side, we have a number of government hospitals where there are facilities for patients to be admitted, but the factor concentrates are not available there. The only treatment which is available in these centers are plasma, and plasma contains very little amount of factor. So a lot of it is to be given, and then can sometimes overload the system of a child, and it's not possible to give him as much as it's required. So although it is there and it is given to patients, it's available in hospitals, but that's not exactly the real treatment for these patients. Will actually sort of normalize them.
Okay, amazing that is. So I think with that we'll have to move on to Dr. Nausheen over here. So factors not being available, I mean, I know that, you know, it's not a long period that you guys have taken the office anyways, and there's a long way to go, but are we looking into this from the aspect of Ministry of Health and Sciences?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yes, definitely. I think hemophilia is a big concern, and because it's not very well known, people are not aware about this, so it has not been much talked about.
Okay.
But definitely it needs treatment, and it has not been given much attention in the past. But I believe that inshallah we'll take up this thing, and with these type of days which are being celebrated, the Hemophilia Awareness Day and all these, I think these things will come into consideration. And definitely the treatment is not available, these concentrates are not available, they have to be imported. But I think it won't be very difficult if we make some mechanism to generate them over here, to make them over here. So I will definitely take up this issue. This day has given me some inspiration also, and we will talk about it. And yes, there are some facilities in PIMS Hospital in Islamabad, but more needs to be done about it.
Absolutely, that's true, ma'am.
I think while we're talking about the treatment, I would like to emphasize that factor concentrates which are available, like for they're very expensive. One vial of factor 8 concentrate available in the market is around 11,000 rupees. And sometimes children...
It's a one-time use.
It's one-time use, and a patient with severe hemophilia might require 4 or 5 of these a month. So that is one thing. So I think on the government side, it's very good that we have got Dr. Nausheen here with us, and I'm sure we'll follow it up with her. Not only we require these factors provision for these patients, but the government should ease the import of these factors as well.
That's absolutely true.
I think that's brilliant that they actually need to ease, you know, all of these kind of systems which they need to come up with. But I think that the government came up with a very amazing initiative, which is health card as well. Let's talk about that and what kind of healthcare services will be provided to people who are actually eligible for the card itself.
Yes, this is a type of health insurance cards. And in the initial stage, we are targeting the poorest of the poor. People who have got daily income less than $1 are being targeted in the first phase, and they will be given this insurance card which will give the amount of 7,20,000 per family per year.
Per year, okay, that's great.
So this will cover all the major diseases except the transplants, that is the kidney transplant or liver transplant. Besides this, all the diseases will be covered, and once a patient is admitted in the hospital, all the tests, the admission, the bed, the medicines, all surgeries, everything will be covered in that.
Right.
So I think it's going to be very beneficial for the poor people, because usually we see that even the white collared people, if some major disease comes in the house, they become, they get to below the poverty line.
Exactly. Right, that's so true.
So these insurance cards, and definitely it will cover hemophilia, because these patients have to be admitted in the hospital and then given the treatment.
Right.
So these cards are in the first phase, they are for the patients who are admitted in the hospitals, but we are trying to include those outpatients also. But that will take some time.
Of course. So, but this has been appropriated already, and this is such a great initiative, absolutely, because there are such a huge number of people living in the rural areas and, you know, living below the poverty line, so they do deserve all of this. But moving on to Abira over here. Now, Abira, you were just a few days old when your parents found out that you have such a disorder, right? And then, mashallah, you're so brave to, first of all, thank you so much for coming over here and accepting it. This is just for all the people out there who are living with the same disorder. She's here to help you on how to lead a probably better or a balanced life with that.
Before actually Abira says something else, I just want to point out that she's a medical student. So she's not just brave.
I was about to say that.
Yes.
Wow, that is absolutely
brilliant. The way she was wearing her wristwatch and the way she was sitting, I actually kind of realized that she's actually a medical student.
Oh, wow.
Because one of my sister happens to be a doctor and she actually behaves the same way. So I think both of you,
Okay, perfect. So I feel like you're also going to study hematology. But okay, so do you feel like for your parents and for yourself, the life is a little different than other people?
Well, if I would say no, that would be a lie. Obviously, if you have something different, your life will be different from other people. In the beginning, since I was the first child in the whole family who got diagnosed with such a bleeding disorder, so it was very difficult for my parents to deal with this stuff. They did not know anything about it. So getting the diagnosis done and then finding out the right treatment and then getting me to the hospitals, rushing me to the hospital for the treatment and stuff was obviously not a very easy task. If I say that person living with a bleeding disorder cannot lead a normal life, that would be a lie as well. You know, people are born with congenital abnormalities, people have congenital disorders, but that does not mean that they cannot live or lead a normal, healthy life. If you get proper treatment, if you are brought up properly and you are getting the proper education, you become an independent human being, then obviously you can lead a healthy and a successful life even with these bleeding disorders. It's all about how you deal with this and how you take this, how you accept this, and how you are brought up by your parents. So that's the thing that matters.
Right, because it is going to, you know, stay with you no matter what, so why not accept it and start, you know, probably thinking of the way that can deal with it.
Yes, I think Abira has actually brought on a very important and pertinent point, because you shouldn't sort of just sit down there, oh, my child has got hemophilia, or the person with hemophilia, I should sit like this. They should actually do something about it. And you know, it's an interesting story that when I came back to Pakistan, and I wasn't sure which branch of hemophilia I'm going to be taking, I met a patient with hemophilia who actually inspired me to start this Hemophilia Patient Welfare Society, and that person with severe hemophilia with a bit of disability as well was actually working in the Navy. So he was a big hope for all the patients, and we got together a lot of patients, and now mashallah we've got over 1,000 patients now registered here in Rawalpindi with us.
Well, that's brilliant, and I'll definitely come back to this as well, but I want to move back to Abira. So Abira, you know, when you were growing up, and you know, when you were a child, when you cannot think maturely, and you know that you've got this problem, so one way or the other, the child does feel a little disturbed as well, and you know, they want to do something which is really stupid. You know, I'm sorry to say that. Because, you know, parents on the other hand are trying to look after, but the kid, you know, is not listening. You know,
if not you, someone else.
Yeah, kid's a kid. I think I've gone through that phase of my life as well. But eventually you tend to realize, yaar, कि माँ बाप तो फरिश्ते होते हैं. Thank God that they've looked after me. So what kind of challenges did you have while you were growing up with such a disease? I mean, were you less energetic? or you can't be in a fist fight with your brother or sister, you know, things like that, you know. Was it a normal childhood?
It was kind of a normal childhood and it was not. Basically, when you have a bleeding disorders, the parents become overprotective.
Yeah.
They don't want you to fall down and they don't want you to get bruises or any cuts or anything because they know that will lead you into a very big trouble. So basically, parents get overprotective for their children. They don't let them play outside, they don't let them play inside even, and they are very careful in choosing the games you play. You play this, or you are not allowed to play this and you are allowed to play this, and you can watch TV instead and all that stuff. So basically, yes, this is a factor. People do get overprotective, but I think this shouldn't be the thing. The parents should not be very overprotective. They should give them space to their children. They should let them play. Obviously, I'm not saying they should let them run in the ground. They will fall and obviously they will lead into trouble, but they should give them some space. They should let them play because that is something very important in building your personality. If you are outcasted at your home, if parents treat you as something not normal, then how can you expect other people to treat you as a normal person? So the role of parents is very important, that they have to treat you as a normal child. Rather, obviously, they have to take care of you more than the others, and they have to pay more attention to you, but they have to raise a child as a normal child so that the child himself or herself does not feel that he's outcasted or he's different from others or he is some way less than the others. I think the parents have to give confidence to their children that they are something, they can be more than the others. Only thing they have to do is concentrate on themselves and work hard for themselves.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that, Apira. I will definitely get back to that, but ma'am, I do have a question for both of you. So is there a difference in occurrence for males and females? Are the patterns different? Are the symptoms different?
When we talk of hemophilia, hemophilia is a male disease. And the most important thing which comes as a characteristic in hemophilia is bleeds into the joints.
Right, internal bleeding.
In joints and muscles, internal bleeding. In hemophilia carriers, who are mothers who actually, through them, the disease goes into their boys, generally are symptomless. They only know that they are carriers when they have a child with hemophilia. So those don't have any problems. But in cases like von Willebrand disease, which Abira has, it can be seen both in males and females. And the symptoms are the same. They don't have the joint and muscle bleeds, but they have mucocutaneous bleeds. That means bleeding from the skin and mucous membranes, which will include bruises, cuts, bleeding from the nose, bleeding from the gums, and in women, bleeding during their periods.
Okay, now I want to move on to Dr. Nausheen over here. So, ma'am, I think that since you're representing a government body over here, so this year's the theme for Hemophilia Day is outreach and identification. Do you think that the government actually plans, or the Ministry of Health and Sciences actually plans to identify the people who are living with this disorder and bring them under one branch so that they're treatable whenever it's important or necessary?
Yes, I think this is a very much needed initiative and it needs to be done. The government is presently focusing on the primary health care, because in that way you can outreach to the community, you get to the masses at the grassroots level. So I think we are trying to promote the primary health care model and especially the basic health units, because they are present in every union council. So we are trying to devolve certain services to the primary health care level, so that people are more in contact, more people come there, you can get to more people at grassroots level. So we are trying some new initiatives, and the preventive health care is our main focus. So I think this is also something very important. So we will try to incorporate this into the primary health care structure also.
Shahzad, I just wanted to say that why do we need awareness in our country? According to population statistics, there are around 24,000 patients of hemophilia in Pakistan, but we only know about 4,000 patients. The rest, about 20,000, are somewhere, wherever they are, far off areas, hills, plains, wherever. So through these programs, I mean, what we are doing today is also awareness and outreach, and giving people symptoms like if your child has bruises, if he is bleeding excessively, जैसे नक्सीर का आना या दांतों से खून का निकलना, so they should think that he might have a bleeding disorder, and then to bring that child to a big city and then get that person diagnosed, so that we actually reach out to these people. And reaching out is important, because unless we reach out to these people or they reach to us, no treatment will be available to them, and they'll have a lot of complication in their life.
And that's true. And you know, just a few days back, we were celebrating and observing World Health Day as well. And some of the things that the doctors had to say were similar, that we need to have a proper database set up. Because we need to, of course, then look after all those people.
Yeah, even, you know, these hospitals these days, you know, which we think are the modern ones, they have these file systems as well, and you have to wait for an hour to get the file. But other than that, you know, there's one interesting thing which I'm going to share on a very lighter note, and that is that, you know, have you read that story? Probably, I think it was in the 2nd grade or the 3rd grade, where, you know, the man who thinks that he was the hospital because he actually used to get all the disease he used to talk about. So I don't know why, but Allah maaf kare, astaghfirullah, whenever we're talking about such a day or a disease, God forbid, I think I just start to think about all the symptoms, or, you know, Naksir, maybe
you can get it done with a very simple blood test. So you can just get it
That's
out
where
of
I
your
wanted
mind.
it to be.
Shahzad, आपने तो बहुत interesting बात की है, इसलिए कि like when we as medical students, when we used to study one disease, you would think we have actually got that disease.
I think we have gone through all those diseases which we used to read, the cardiovascular disease, the GI diseases. We have gone through
I think it happens to everybody, but over here, ladies and gentlemen, there are a few institutions which I would love to mention over here. First up is Baitul Mal, and the second one, there is this Punjab government. It's an initiative by the Punjab government, and it's been here since long as well. And that is that, for example, for people who cannot afford these medicines, Baitul Mal actually gives them for free. I mean, you obviously have to apply, and there's this entire system. So if there are other people who are in need of help or financial assistance, please let them know about Baitul Mal.
Even the major surgeries are being conducted, the bypasses and all this. Baitul Mal is supporting all these.
So that's wonderful. And then other than that, there's this program by Punjab government for cancer patients as well, because cancer medication is very expensive. So half of the time people do not know. So I think everybody needs to do their own research. And for all those channels which are actually their, you know, medium of understanding is in Urdu, I think that, you know, these are the kind of shows that you guys should be doing too as well.
Absolutely, I do agree with it. Thank you so much for such important information, Shahzad. But ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, we're heading out to a very short break. When you come back, we'll still be talking about bleeding disorders. And if you are someone who needs to learn about them, we have doctors over here. If you're someone who is living with a bleeding disorder and need to learn how to lead that life, we have someone living with the same disorder as well to help you out. Stay tuned. Good morning.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTY, you watched your world this morning alongside the coolest host ever, produced by Pakistan. I'm sorry to say that, but yeah, that's a fact. So with me, I have Shizza Hashmi. Well, you know my name. Well, it's Shahzad Khan. But other than that, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're observing World Hemophilia Day. It's a bleeding disorder. Many people are actually living with it, and it's not easy to live with it. But we were very kind enough that we were joined by guests. One of them is representing the Ministry of Health and Sciences and Research as well. And then alongside her, we've got somebody who was actually in England, got back to Pakistan, had created an entire society of people who actually live with hemophilia as well. And then we were lucky enough to actually have been joined by somebody who was a person who's actually living with a bleeding disorder. And I want to go back to her too.
Okay.
So I'm very sorry that I have to put it this way, but this is how it is over here in Pakistan. Whenever the child is not fine, or he or she cries a lot, or there's a problem with the kid, I don't know, but the parents actually think that there might be something else other than a scientific reason. Jadoo kar diya khala ne aur puppo ne. Puppo probably use a lot of yeah, I'm sorry, my puppo will say we love you. We do not have a problem of this sort. Yeah. So, did that happen to you, or, have you seen this thing happening to other people, taking them to quacks, or probably people sitting right on the bridges who are not qualified to actually treat such illnesses?
Since this is a bleeding disorder, usually when the person bleeds, the first instinct is to take the child to the hospital or the patient to the hospital since he's bleeding. But when it comes to joint bleeds, joint deformities, then people do think that there is something else other than a disorder, and they do take their children to quacks, and those quacks even make those things worse, and since they don't get the proper treatment, and they can lead to permanent deformities and permanent disabilities in children as well. If I talk about jadoo kar diya kisi ne, that is something not very common among the bleeding disorders or people with bleeding disorders, since there is something visible that's happening, so people usually take their children to the hospital for treatment.
Right, but it usually does happen, right? You get bruises from internal bleeding and everything, and your parents might, but they know. But for the parents who don't know, they would often ask you, why would you get bruises? Zarur koi jadoo. That does happen, that is right, Shahzad. But
one more simple thing I wanted to ask her, and that is that, since we talk about this, so usually whenever you get your blood test done, what's your hemoglobin? I mean, I want to ask that.
It's usually around 8 or 9.
8 or 9?
Or if I build it up, I'm very cautious about it, and I try to build it up, I can take it up to 10 or 11. And I've seen patients who bleed and then their hemoglobin has fallen to even 4 or 3. I've seen those people as well.
So don't they become anemic or something?
Obviously, they become anemic, and most of the women with bleeding disorders are living with severe anemia, and they're taking regular medications, and they have to be very cautious about it.
Yeah, but very quickly, I'm sorry, Shizza, but it is related to that, and that is, so for women who are actually living with these disorders and are married, do you think that it's healthier for them to be pregnant or to deliver babies? Or we should actually not even think about that if we are getting married to a woman who's living with such a disability?
I think that is where it's so important to create awareness, because we have had problems with our females who have bleeding disorders that, I mean, what to talk of somebody else, a family coming for a proposal, their own parents actually say that we are not going to get them married because how will we bear the expenses when she starts bleeding after delivery, for example. But fortunately, at the center, we have got the factors available. So we have recently had 4 or 5 pregnancies in patients with von Willebrand disease, successful pregnancies. So I think that's another beacon of hope for these women. And I think what I've seen in our females, we are holding a special seminar today on the psychosocial issues in people with bleeding disorders. And we are especially talking about it. And what I tell you, Shahzad and Shizza, is that over the years, where these girls and then later on young females used to be hopeless, they would be so depressed with this knowledge and actually seeing their own sort of sisters having children, they have become so confident and happy. Now each one is talking about how will be getting married.
Wow.
So this is extremely good and a very pertinent question.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Known for this. Yeah.
Known for this. He always says that. But okay, you know, staying to the same point. But when you are sort of having this bleeding disorder, you have anemia that you rightly mentioned. You can also develop stress. You have bruises, internal bleeding and everything. So is there a particular diet that people with a bleeding disorder have to follow, or a regular medication?
I mean, like Abira was just telling us, because there is bleeding normally in females, and in such patients,
and that can be prolonged. Just
that can be prolonged and excessive as well.
Oh, okay.
So they'll become deficient in their hemoglobin, and for that they would need a diet which is high in iron, so that it helps them to increase their hemoglobin. And then medication also, they'll need iron medication to improve their hemoglobin.
Oh, that's great. And I think, you know, for all those people who actually really need to increase their hemoglobin or the blood health, I think probably kaleji, I think, is one of those things where we need liver probably, and then we have
I can see actually Shizza making a face as well.
Just spinach can be eaten a lot as well, and you know, I've had spinach soups quite a lot in my life as well. You know, this is why that I know all of this as well. But you know, for example, if you know that you have a problem, you know that there's an army coming towards your border, you probably need to set your army to fight against that as well.
Wow,
I think that's one rule. But now, ma'am, I'm sorry, but I'll have to move on from hemophilia to personal questions. I'm known for that too, sorry. But for somebody who's actually, you know, spent 5 years into an MBBS, and then, you know, because, you know, for people who actually are doctors, is because of the fact that they wanted to be doctors that all their life. I think this is one thing which I've learned from doctors. So, you know, you became a doctor, and then you eventually decided to be a doctor who's a political one, you know. And so earlier you were in Punjab Assembly, now you were here in National Assembly. And I think that we do need doctors, but then one way or the other, I think that they never get heard within the, you know, assembly as well, that, you know, okay, this is something which we need to do, this is something. Because by the end of the day, the minister who's sitting over there might not even know what you're talking about. Sorry to say that, but that's how it is.
Okay, your take on this.
Yes. I think being a doctor helps you in this field also, especially your knowledge about medicine and diseases. I think technical input is always necessary, especially in the health department. Yes, the minister, obviously I think the minister has to be someone who's strong in the administrative side, but his support as a parliamentary secretary, I have to give him support. So I think my technical input really does matter, because I look at the technical aspects, and even before we were in government, we were in a political party, and I used to look after the medical wing of the party. So I think my education has helped me in my political field also.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a situation. For example, you know, if I mean, one day, you never know, if I'm the minister and you're supposed to tell me that, you know, sir, you know, this causes lymphosarcoma of the intestine, probably, whatever. Do you think that the minister the minister is going to understand what you're talking about? I mean, you'll have to make it simple for them, right?
And then because I'll give you an example of last week. There's a disease by the name of leishmaniasis. It's a cutaneous disease, and it's very much, it's just coming up as an epidemic in KP and in Quetta. So I just got some information from there. People were contacting me. I went to the minister, I told him about this disease, I showed him some pictures. So immediately he took action. He called the minister KP, and he's coming today for a meeting. So we have to provide them with medicines which are not being manufactured in Pakistan. So he immediately got that arrangement done so that we get those injections. So it does help. But the education never goes waste.
That's true, ma'am. I definitely do feel that. I mean, for a person to have studied all of this, it's better to have them on board to make policies and reforms, right? Because they do know what's going on.
But my point of view is, then only those people should actually be appointed. You know, nobody else should be appointed.
What I wanted to say also, in case of Nausheen, I think she must be very clever, not like us, that's staying as doctor and working like donkeys all our life.
The best of both.
She knows
the politicians work more like donkeys as compared to doctors. I think doctors have got a comfortable environment. Doctors have got a comfortable environment within the hospital. They are comparatively, because we have to go at the grassroots levels. We have to go on the roads. We have to go in the
is in the hands of politicians. We as doctors, whatever we are doing, raising awareness, whatever. But unless something comes at the government level, and fortunately, at present, the ministers we have are actually doctors. So they are more. We are more hopeful. that things would will improve.
Right, absolutely.
Very quickly, ma'am, can you please share the addresses for the hemophilia treatment centers which you have yourselves as well, so that people who've actually taken something away from today's show, they can contact you?
Yes, the Hemophilia Treatment Center of the Hemophilia Patient Welfare Society is actually located on Tipu Road, just opposite Rawalpindi Medical College, and it's on first floor.
Oh, perfect.
And people can come there directly, and we can actually guide them how to get diagnosed, and if they are diagnosed with a bleeding disorder, further treatment.
Right. Thank you so much for saying
Abira,
that.
do you have a message for your friends?
Yeah, my question is actually for Abira, but you know, just before the show we were talking on why we need to aware people about this, because Abira, you told me how you were going to schools and, you know, probably applying for jobs, or you might do in the future as well, and people are not very aware of how to deal with such people.
Yeah, usually when people with bleeding disorders go to school and the parents tell the principal or the teachers that they have this disorder and you have to treat them, like you have to take care of them, people are very reluctant. Even during the job interviews, as soon as people get to know that you are going to be getting leaves for if you have some problem, then people are very reluctant to give you jobs, and they question your abilities, they question your talents, and they question you that whether you can do that or not. I think awareness in that in that point of view is very important. As long as we can tell the people that this is something we are born with, and this is something we can lead a very normal, healthy and successful life. You don't have to question our abilities for that. So that is something very important, and the role of the parents, I think that is something, the most important thing. The parents should make sure they get their children with such disorders educated, they make them independent so they can support themselves, they are not dependent on anyone to take care of themselves or for their treatment or anything else.
I think the presence of Abira in this program will definitely deliver a message to many people that they can lead a productive life and they can excel in their lives. So I think it's very amazing, and I think it will give a very good message.
Thank you very much for joining us. It was wonderful to have you. Unfortunately, we're short of time, but otherwise, you know, I'm always, I always want to be in conversations with women of, I don't know, I just
power.
No, I think the right word would be who actually proved their mettle. I think that this is the right statement. So it was wonderful. Thank you very much once again, and please continue to inspire a million other people. Yes. So for all those people who are out there, I think Shizza wants to speak.
Yeah, I really want to. But towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, again, I always tell you that be careful of the words that you speak to other people. And since we are talking about this bleeding disorder, there are, I'm pretty sure, a lot of people, probably your friends as well, that you don't know have a bleeding disorder. So just be careful of the people around you. And if you do have a person in your life that does suffer from this, just be there for them at the moment when they do need help. And just learn some basic first aid things that you need to provide to them in order to save their life.
And you don't have to text them over the phone, I'm right here, okay? You got to be there physically.
Right,
so please do write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On Daily Motion and YouTube.
Also Well This Morning.
And this fabulous repeat is going to be at
11 p.m. tonight.
Till the next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
The Faisal Mosque is the largest mosque in Pakistan. Located in the national capital city of Islamabad. Completed in 1986, it was designed by Turkish architect Vidat Daloke, to be shaped like a desert Bedouin's tent. It is situated at the north end of Faisal Avenue, putting it at the northernmost end of the city and the foot of the Margala Hills, the westernmost foothills of the Himalayas. It is located on an elevated area of land against a picturesque backdrop of the Margala Hills. This enviable location represents the mosque's great importance and allows it to be seen from miles around, day and night.